Songket, alangkah indah.
Hi, my name is Nurul Izzah Binti Sahak, matrix number D201920914451. In this study, we will investigate an artistic material in our culture that fits the use of geometrical shapes and concept. We decide to choose a traditional Malay woven called Songket. In order to complete the assignment, we will be focusing on one of the art called Samping Songket, which is used by men. Songket is one of the beautiful traditional crafts produced by the Malays in Malaysia. Songket is a luxurious hand-woven fabric that belongs to the brocade family of textile. Songket comes from the Malay word menyongket or menyungkit, which means to level up or to pick and insert metallic threads, traditionally gold or silver thread during the weaving process to form motif. Using a technique that is hundreds of years old, Songket is woven on the cake. A foot-operated wooden frame using what is commonly referred to as the supplementary wave method, a decorative weaving technique in which extra supplementary threads float across a colorful woven ground to create an ornamental effect. The origin of Songket in the Malay Peninsula is subject that is difficult to determine due to lack of reliable historic documentation. The art of Songket weaving is believed to have come to the Malay Peninsula through trade, migration and political marriage since the 15th century. The usage for Songket are for: first, traditional ceremonial costume, traditional ceremonial gift, souvenirs, home products, gift, apparel, fashion accessories, and art pieces. The measurement for Samping Songket that we have investigated are: the length is 72.39 cm, for width is 88.90 cm, and the perimeter is about 2 meter.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Shafikah Binti Khalili. My matric number is D209120914454. Okay, first thing first, we are going to examine what type of geometrical shape that we can find on the something. Okay, first, what is geometrical shapes? Okay, geometrical shapes or decoration is a motif, pattern or emblem depicting abstracts, metaphorical and also illustrative shapes such as line, circle, ellipse, triangle, rectangle and also polygon. There are many geometrical shapes that we can simply find on Songket. For example, number 1, rectangle, second, rhombus, third, rhomboid, and fourth, triangle. Rectangle and also square are one of the most common shapes that we can find in every design on Songket. Square or rectangle symbolize balance and also traditions that representing heritage and culture, especially in Malay tradition. This is the most basics and commonly used in designing something. The second shape is rhombus. Depending on the size and also shapes, rhombus can be used at the center parts of the fabrics. It can also portray the main and most important fragment that's supposed to stand out. Sometimes rhombus is often used as a badan of the smaller shapes such as square and polygon. It can also be used as a petals to procreate flower arrangement. It can also be created in which the adjacent sides are of asymmetrical expanse and angles are non-right angles. For example, Botol Wajib, which is a diamond-shaped cake of glutinous rice, and the second one is Tapak Catur, which is chessboard. The third shape is rhomboid. Rhomboid is a parallelogram with no right angle and with adjacent sides of dissimilar lengths. Remember, a parallelogram with sides of equal length is a rhombus and not a rhomboid. For example, bunga lawang. In this particular design, rhomboid is used to make petal, which is very important to depicting flower in real life. The last geometrical shapes that we can find is triangle. Triangle shapes epitomize stability, aggression, and also energy, as the shape highlighted revelations and higher perspective. It is, for example, pucuk lebong. The second one is bukit.
Hello, my name is Norliyana Binti Ismail, and my matric number is D201920914437, and I will present about the geometrical concept of shapes on Songket. The first shape that we will observe is rectangle. Rectangle can be seen on the structure of the Samping Songket itself. Rectangle is known as a parallelogram with four sides where both pairs of opposite are congruent and parallel to each other. Hence, we know that line segment AB and CD are parallel and congruent to each other. Meanwhile, line segment AC and BD are congruent and parallel to each other. And then we may deduce that length of bases, which are line segment AB and CD, are equal to 35.0 inch. Meanwhile, the length of altitudes, which are AC and BD, are equal to 28.5 inch. Another property of rectangle is all angles are right angles, which means that each angle of the something is equal to 90 degrees. And to calculate the sum of interior angles, we will use the formula of S equals to the product of n minus 2 times 180 degrees. N here represents the number of sides of the rectangle, which is 4. And then we will obtain the sum of interior angles of the rectangle equals to 360 degrees. In order to calculate the area of the something, we will use the formula of area of rectangle, which goes by the product of base length and altitude length. And we will obtain 197.5 inch square as the area of the something. Another shape that we will observe is equilateral triangle. It can be seen on the bukit motif. Equilateral triangle is known as a triangle with three sides of equal length. Hence, we know that all sides of the bukit motif equals to 1.8 cm each. An equilateral triangle is also equiangular, which means that each angle have the same measure. Hence, we know that the equilateral triangle on bukit motif have the angle of 60 degrees each. To calculate the equilateral triangle area with three sides of length all equal to 1.8 cm, first we will calculate the semi-perimeter. Then we will insert all of the values that we have into the formula, and then we will obtain 2.7 cm as the semi-perimeter. To calculate the area of the equilateral triangle, we will use Harris formula. We will obtain 1.403 cm square as the area of the bukit motif. Another shape that we will observe is isosceles triangle that can be seen on the pucuk rebung motif. Isosceles triangle is defined as triangle with two sides of equal length. Hence, we know that the legs of the pucuk rebung motif measures 14.7 cm long each. Meanwhile, the base equals to 8.7 cm and the altitude measures 14 cm. Another property is that the base angles are of equal length. So we know that the base angles of the pucuk rebung are each 70 degrees, meanwhile the vertex angle is 40 degrees. To obtain the area of the pucuk rebung motif, we will use the area of the triangle, which goes by half of the product of base length and altitude length. And we will obtain 60.9 cm square of the area of pucuk rebung motif. The next shape that we have is rhombus. Rhombus can be seen on the tapak catur motif. A rhombus sides are all congruent with one another and they have the same measurement. Hence, we know that all sides of the tapak catur motif measure 1 cm each. Another property is opposite angles of rhombus are congruent and in equal measure. Hence, we know that angle BAD and angle BCD equals to 70 degrees, meanwhile angle ADC and angle CBA equals to 110 degrees. For the rhombus, the diagonal AC equals to 1.5 cm and it connects vertex A and C. For the diagonal BD that connects vertex B and D, it equals to 1.0 cm. To calculate the area of the tapak catur motif, we will use the formula of area of rhombus, which goes by half of the product of diagonal AC and diagonal BD, and we obtain 0.75 cm square for the area of the tapak catur motif. For the next shape, we have rhomboid. So, on something Songket, rhomboid can be seen on the bunga lawang motif. Rhomboid is a type of parallelogram in which the opposite sides are parallel and congruent to each other. Hence, we know that the length of bases are equal to 1.2 cm, meanwhile the line segment AC and line segment BD equals to 0.7 cm and the altitude of the rhomboid on bunga lawang motif equals to 0.5 cm. The opposite angles of a rhomboid are congruent. Hence, angle ACD and angle ABD equals to 140 degrees, meanwhile angle CAB and angle BDC equals to 40 degrees. To calculate the area of rhomboid, we will use the formula of area of parallelogram, which goes by the product of base length and altitude length. And then we will obtain the area of rhomboid on bunga lawang motif as 0.6 cm square.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhamad Azam bin Abu Bakar and my matrix number is D2019209269. In this video, I will talk about the transformation in motif and pattern of something Songket. In the making of Songket design on this something, there are few concepts of transformation that has been applied in order to blueprint certain pattern of geometry structure. Besides that, to design something made from Songket, transformation of geometric shape happen in order to make sure the formation is arranged accordingly and consistent. After that, in the creation of Songket motif, concept of transformation is usually involved in order to make repetitive pattern. Basically, in this part, I will talk about three shapes that usually being used in the creation of something Songket motif, which is rhombus, rhomboid, and triangle. Firstly, I will talk about the rhombus. With respect to the example of rhombus shape on the something, the plans are made exclusively from the motivation of chessboard. Besides that, the idea of transformation engaged with the production of chessboard theme is translation and reflection, where each theme is situated through a development of fixed length and direction. This is the example of translation of rhombus motif and the example of the reflection of the rhombus motif on a vertical line. Next, I want to talk about the rhomboid. Rhomboid calculation on Songket can be utilized on various examples like blossom, cakes, and numerous others. Concerning the bunga lawang theme that can be found on the texture, the petals are likewise enlarged by utilizing the idea of reflection. The shape is organized and evenness and dispersed on the texture. The course of action is like the example of petals. It gives sharp and flawless enhancement to the general outline. For example, from this figure, we can see that the shapes are being reflected across a vertical line. Every point of the rhomboid is reflected across a line of symmetry. Each pair of corresponding vertices will line on the opposite side of the vertical line of reflection at the same distance. Thusly, by having some imaginativeness and drawing in various structure of changes on the bunga lawang theme, a lot more lovely Songket design with this customary theme could be made. Next, I will talk about the triangle. The shape of triangle can be found in the pucuk rebong and bukit motif on the samping Songket. The shape of the triangle in this design is arranged according to the concept of reflection in symmetrical line, because it can give immaculate and systemized visualization of the design on the fabric. Here is the example of reflection of pucuk rebong motif across a horizontal line and a vertical axis. And for this one is the example of reflection of bukit motif. From the example, we can see that every point of the original shape is associated with a second point by locating it through a movement of a fixed length and direction. Other concept of transformation that involve in the creation of pucuk rebong motif and a bukit motif is translation. For your information, the bigger triangle usually been used at the central part of fabric, while the smaller one can be put at the end on the left and right of the material. That's all from me, and the presentation will be continued by my friend. Thank you.
My name is Shafikah Binti Ashri. My matric number is D2019-2091462. So on the part C of summary, based on the investigation in part A and part B about Songket, and in specific ways, we choose and focusing on one of the art that calls something Songket. So this is usually used by men. So this something Songket is one of the beautiful traditional craft that produced in Malaysia. Next, we have investigated that the Songket have an origin. The origin of Songket in Malay Peninsula is subject that is difficult to determine due to lack to relevant historic documentation. Then, Songket also have their own uses such as traditional ceremonial, souvenirs, home product, gift, and art pieces. So, based on this investigation, the Songket that we investigate has its own size, which is 72.39 cm of length, 88.9 cm width, and the perimeter is 2 meter. So, geometrical shape that commonly found on samping Songket is square and rectangular, and then rhombus and rhomboid. So, in future, we wish that we can learn more about geometrical shapes in this course to find out the best result for our research. In conclusion, there are so many lessons that we have learned in this task, such as we being able to work in group and cooperate together as a teammate. We also learn how to elaborate and apply the knowledge that we have studied in this course in our daily life. Moreover, it also helps us to understand the theorem and the concept of the geometry. The culture of the Songket is more likely to traditional culture because of the main reason of the Songket is made is to show about traditional craft that produced in Malaysia to the other country. It is also known as Malaysian cultural works of art, so we can assume that this Songket has a very unique design and beautiful fabric that we have been used, which is traditional cultural that have been forgotten nowadays. Then we can elaborate more about traditional of this samping Songket. Lastly, this Songket will be always be an iconic traditional in geometry and culture in every civilization. Thank you.